The PyeongChang Games are South Korea's first Winter Olympics, but this is actually the second time the Olympics have been hosted in Korea. Some of you may remember the 1988 Olympics hosted in Seoul. There were major international security issues related to those Olympic Games, most notably the November 1987 bombing of a flight between Baghdad and Seoul by North Korean agents seeking to scare away international visitors from the Olympics. This time around, it seems as though the North Koreans are using the Olympics to ease regional tensions, at least temporarily, and improve ties with South Korea. While South Korea plans to showcase the country's economic power and modern infrastructure with the PyeongChang Games, there have been widespread worries that tensions with North Korea could again undermine or even threaten the Olympics. My name is Brendan O'Reilly, and I'll be leading this webinar. I'm an Asia-Pacific Regional Analyst here at iJET, and I have over 9 years' experience living and working in the Asia-Pacific region. I'm fluent in Mandarin, and I know enough Bengali to get myself into or out of a bad situation. There are several key topics on the minds of businesses with personnel in the area, including transportation and personal safety, cybersecurity, and the strategic situation surrounding the geopolitical disputes on the Korean Peninsula. In this session, I'll be focusing on day-to-day logistics and personal safety. We have another video on our website that discusses the geopolitics of the region. Let's first look at the operating environment. The venues where the competitions are held are concentrated in Gangwon province along Korea's east coast. The venues are located roughly 85 kilometers south-southeast of the demilitarized zone and the North Korean frontier, and approximately 125 kilometers east of Seoul. Seoul, the South Korean capital, is serving as a central international hub for athletes and spectators attending the Games. Many visitors will choose to stay in Seoul, which will increase demand for hotels and transportation services in the city. Security officials are carrying out strict identification checks and baggage searches for arriving and departing passengers at Incheon International and Gimpo International airports. International travelers should expect immigration and customs delays. Outside of the airports, the influx of visitors will likely lead to increased congestion on major highways and public transportation throughout metropolitan Seoul. Congestion is probable on roads connecting Seoul to the Olympic Games venues, including highways 60, 50, and 55. The Gyeonggang Korea Train Express Line, which opened on December 22nd, connects Seoul to Korea's east coast. The high-speed rail link reduces travel time between the capital and PyeongChang to under 2 hours. Trains depart from Seoul and Cheongyangni stations and make stops in PyeongChang, Jinbu, and Gangneung, providing access to areas hosting Olympic events via shuttle service. Additionally, KoRail will operate an express shuttle service direct from Incheon International Airport to each of these train stations 16 times per day. Free shuttle services are also available, linking Seoul to Olympic venues. For those of you planning to drive or take public transportation while in South Korea, our geospatial analyst has put together guidelines for getting around town on the iJET blog. Visit ijet.com/Olympics for this info. Petty crime, another potential security issue that visitors to the 2018 PyeongChang Olympics should be aware of, are protests. In recent weeks, we have seen demonstrations by South Korean groups who are angry about their government's cooperation with North Korea during the Games. So far, these protests have been relatively small, with about 200 participants. However, the potential for larger protests exists. Security will likely be boosted in Seoul and near Olympic venues, in part as a precaution against major demonstrations against North Korea. The high international profile of the Games has also created a general non-specific threat of terror attacks. Due to strict security laws, it is unlikely that terrorists could acquire guns or explosives in South Korea. However, relatively crude attacks, such as using a rented vehicle to attack pedestrians, cannot be ruled out. This brings us to our next topic, cybersecurity, an increasingly important facet of personal and organizational security. Now, for many cyber threats, the physical location of the target is not necessarily an important factor. Nevertheless, there are issues posed by high visibility events such as the Olympics, which create a rich environment for opportunistic cyber criminals. Cyber threats take a variety of forms and arise from a variety of actors. First are various ideological hacktivist groups. These groups tend to be decentralized and motivated by general anti-establishment ideologies. A second and more immediate threat is corporate espionage. Competitors may attempt to steal sensitive information. Next are state-sponsored groups. Various intelligence agencies have been known to use cyber means to further the perceived interests of their countries. For example, cyber attacks from North Korea could target transportation infrastructure in South Korea. However, given the apparent relaxing of regional tensions, such an attack by North Korean agents appears unlikely. Lastly are criminal individuals or groups seeking to profit financially from cybercrime. Attackers may seek access to banking or financial data to steal funds. They may also implant ransomware viruses that essentially shut down a computer or other device until a ransom is paid, usually through cryptocurrency. Luckily, most cyber threats can be avoided or minimized through preventative measures. Here are a few of our tips. First, you must ensure the physical safety of your devices. Always be aware where your devices are located. Next, you should limit the use of devices in public to reduce the risk of theft. You should also configure your devices to lock immediately, so if you leave a device somewhere, someone can't access your important information. Finally, it's a good idea to use multi-factor authentication to access devices. So first off, you want to be wary with email. Don't open unrecognized email attachments or links. You would also like to avoid checking email at cyber cafes or airport computers because these connections might not be secure. Be wary of public Wi-Fi networks and make sure to change your passwords frequently and use strong passwords. For your convenience, we have a comprehensive list of these preventative measures on the iJET blog. Visit ijet.com/Olympics for the full list of personal safety tips. Bottom line is South Korea has made significant investments in transportation infrastructure and security to make sure the Olympics go smoothly. Petty crime, crowded transportation, and relatively minor protests are likely to be the major security issues faced by visitors to the Olympics. While personal safety and cybersecurity threats can never be entirely ruled out, visitors can minimize their exposure. In this session, we've talked about the infrastructure and challenges visitors may face while navigating South Korea. And we've talked about potential personal safety threats and tips for mitigating risk while attending the games. Throughout the Olympics, we'll be sharing our daily intelligence insights and alerts on the ijet.com website. Follow along with the latest expert analysis by visiting ijet.com/Olympics. We're also taking questions over on Twitter. To have an analyst answer your Olympics-related question, tweet using the hashtag AskIJET.